As the daughter of immigrants, financial struggles were part of my everyday reality. In high school, I became homeless and had to live in a women's shelter. Thankfully, being an APIA McDonald Scholar enabled me to attend college and begin a new chapter in my life. And now, my reality is filled with endless possibilities.
McDonald's has awarded nearly $4 million through APIA Scholars to support students. Learn more at apanext.com.
Escape to nature. Protect your peace. The path is before you. It never ends. It never ends. Some places never let you leave. You live here now. You live here now. Get tickets now for Return to Silent Hill. In theaters, January 23rd.
I hate to say it, but his parents have been feeling unwell as of late, and I'm staying with them to help take care of Alex.
Oh, so that's serious.
Oh, no, it's not serious. Nothing terminal. It's just a touch of consumption.
And welcome back to Horror Queers. We're opening the Patreon vault, and I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we're actually releasing a pretty recent episode because we have these sequels coming out within the same year of each other.
Oh my god. And I've already seen the sequel, which, yes, we will be talking about 28 years later, The Bone Temple, on Patreon very soon. I can tell you that you probably want to rewatch this movie because it feels like a 1-2 punch, Trace.
So very much part 1, part 2, huh?
Yeah, and of course we're supposed to be getting a third film, so the sequelitis will continue. But folks, I'm very much on the record as saying this is a good thing, and you will maybe be shocked to hear that because I think when we recorded this episode, you were a little surprised that I was not mid, because I think I gave this film 4 out of 5, but it just wasn't what I expected. 28 years later, I really thought that we were going to go with something more conventional, and it kind of breaks the mold.
Yeah, I actually thought you had given 28 Years Later 3 stars instead of 4. I remember this conversation, which was less than a year ago, but like...
Yes, it was in the fall.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it wasn't what you expected, and you were kind of grappling with that, you know, like, and it's the expectations game, right? If it's something is so far away removed from what you expect, then sometimes a rewatch is very helpful. But I'm very glad to hear that you like The Bone Temple, so I'm sure that re-listening to this conversation is going to be very enlightening.
Yeah, so folks, needless to say, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you will have only just recently heard this, so we are dropping a little bonus on the Patreon just for you. But yes, obviously we're not going to do the outros, so if you need to know where we're going to go next week, you should be revisiting the world of M. Night Shyamalan, right, Trace?
Yes, because we are going to be covering Split, his 2016, I was going to say comeback, but I'm still in the mindset that The Visit is his comeback.
Right, yes, it's just the one that people didn't see very much, but yeah, when we get to Split, we'll talk about how much fucking money that movie makes, so I think you are right in saying for a lot of folks, it is the comeback film.
It is the comeback, and I have not rewatched Split since we actually covered Glass in the very first year of our Patreon, so...
Oh my god, Trace, it's not the first year, it's the first Patreon episode.
The first Patreon episode. Oh my god. So yeah, this will be just a really fun time, I think, to go back and revisit this movie, because I do remember liking it.
Me too, yes, but I also don't remember the specifics, so I guess we will discover that next week when we talk about Split. But first, folks, enjoy, or rediscover the joy of this discussion on 28 Years Later. Welcome back to Horror Queers. It's your Patreon full-length episode, and I'm Joe.
And I'm Trace, and we are discussing Danny Boyle's 23 Years Later sequel, 28 Years Later.
You just had to do those years, didn't you?
It's the only thing I have going for this movie in terms of a descriptor, even though I guess it's, 18 years after 28 weeks later.
Sure. definitely doesn't have that same ring. Unless you want to say, hey, this movie is all about a child becoming an adult. So 18 years later, the franchise grows up. No, I hate myself. Don't.
Yeah. But I mean, this is going to be interesting, Joe, because I feel like, and you included, but like all I kept hearing from people and reading in reviews was, it's not what you expect. And after hearing that for the 100th time, I was kind of like, what do I expect from this movie?
What did we expect? Here's the thing. I believe a lot of people, and I will be super curious to see what the box office looks like in week 2 when word gets out to all of the regular moviegoers. I think a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be 28 Days Later. It's going to be a zombie film, which obviously we had a discussion on the main feed. Even 28 Days Later is not a traditional zombie film or infected film in a lot of ways. But yeah, I truly do not think people were expecting this.
Well, yes. I think what people were probably expecting was something more like 28 weeks later and less like 28 days later. But I gotta say, I mean, like, I do think this is more common with 28 Days Later in that it's not really a zombie film. Like, there are zombies here, but this is very much more about people.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, many of the zombie films that we talk about are the ones that kind of climb to the top of the ranks are often not actually zombie films. Like, zombie films are much more interested in other things. And I would argue that's the case here. But even within the narrative, within the world of the film, the zombies they're not an afterthought, but they're definitely never
the
most important thing. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I mean, so I steeled myself again. Like, I didn't spoil myself on this. So I really didn't know anything that was going to happen or like where the plot was going to go. And so when hearing all that, I was kind of like, okay, what I'm expecting is something that is less, like, there's going to be very little zombie action, which there was admittedly more than I thought there was going to be.
There's an okay amount. Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be maybe more of a contained story, which I could see might be divisive given that it's like, hey, it's 28 years later. What does the world look like now? And we get taste of that in this movie, but we are very focused on this small community and specifically our lead character of Spike.
Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts about how UK this is, like this entire enterprise. And I think that's part of the themes or the messages. And I'm going to make the argument that it's a bit for better or for worse. So maybe that's a good opportunity to transition into the, will I recommend this movie? I feel like you're saying yes, and I am a soft yes. So I think that this movie is not wholly successful. I do think it's going to be divisive and polarizing. And I feel like it's a bit of a mixed bag. But as we said just before we hit record, part of that is that also, even though, you know, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are very much on the record as saying this is a standalone film, we all know that there is no, they've said it. They've literally said, like, the story of this part is done. And then we will take a couple of these characters and they will get their own story. But, like, they're not saying this is like a trilogy with a through line narrative, which I'm also like, okay, guys, I don't know what the fuck we're doing. But yes, we are getting a sequel from Nia DaCosta in January called The Bone Temple. It will feature Ray Fiennes. It will feature Affie Williams. It will feature Aaron Taylor Johnson. And it will feature, spoilers, Jack O'Connell.
Wait. So I'm really curious, though. And really, I guess this is more of a question for Danny Boyle and Alex Garland. But it's like, okay, but we have all these characters. So what does that mean? The story of this one is done. So I guess that means, well, what is the story in this one to you?
I think that this is the story about how Spike becomes a man and he realizes that his parents are not who he thought they were. So he has to, like, start making decisions for himself. He grows up. He realizes that the world is so much bigger than this little island that he grew up on. And I think that the story will get bigger beyond sort of this contained family piece in the sequel to explore a kind of new facet. So we'll have some of the same characters, but I don't think it's going to be Spike's story. Maybe.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I don't know. To me, it's all the same. Yeah, it's all part of one bigger story. Because I think the thing walking out of this, and I'm going to be interested to know how many people walking into this know it's part of a planned trilogy and know that we're getting the second movie in just like 7 months. But
oh, do you mean because the marketing fucking flopped and A, they have not really told people that is happening, and B, there wasn't a fucking teaser, there wasn't a little clip, there wasn't a trailer, even though we know that Nia DaCosta DaCosta has already finished filming her sequel.
Well,
it's just like, what are we doing?
I think that's very intentional, because I think research shows that if you say, oh, it's part 1 and part 2 comes out in 7 months, I think that people believe that will hurt the box office, because people are going to say, oh, well, I'm not going to go see the first one. I'm going to wait till the second one comes out and watch it.
Interesting. Even though all of the, like, if you're following box office information, they've said, this is the first entry in a trilogy. Nia DaCosta's comes out in January, but the third one has not been written and not filmed, and it is conditional on the box office gross of this first film. So luckily we can report that as of this recording, so we're recording on the Monday following opening weekend, the $60 million movie has made $30 million domestically, $30 million internationally, but obviously it will need to continue to do well in order to justify the green lighting of that third film.
Well, and I think too we're gonna have to see how well the Bone Temple opens compared to this film. So I do think I think this is a polarizing film, and but not as polarizing as I thought. My people walking out of my theater really seem to like this, but I did see reports from other people saying, I had people saying this is an absolute shit movie walking out of my theater, and it's interesting, but the consensus seems to be leaning positive. So we've got an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes from critics, a 3.6 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but again, that could obviously change drastically in the coming weeks. And the cinema score was a B, which I thought was much higher than expected, given how polarizing the film was said to be.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of news stories saying, and it's a B, which is average for a horror film, which I think is also... I don't want to say it's a falsity, because this absolutely is a horror film in that we've got zombies and we've got people getting decapitated left and right. But also, this is much more meditative, much more philosophical and contemplative. I think if you asked an average horror fan, hey, is this movie doing it for you? They're going to say, well, there wasn't enough zombie action. And, there was too much Ralph Fiennes waxing poetically.
Oh, I loved Ralph Fiennes.
Oh my God, I love the entire end of this movie.
but I would argue that cinema score is your average, average moviegoer, not necessarily average horror fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's why I'm not surprised by the higher-ish Letterboxd score, but I was surprised by the higher-ish B cinema score. I really thought we were getting like a C minus in that.
Yeah, for me, I'm really just going to be keeping track of what happens in the coming week. So if this falls by, 65, 70% next weekend, I think we may not get that third film.
Possibly. Especially because, Megan comes out next week, and that's going to, eat up so much of the box office.
Yes, although you would argue, I think, or maybe the defenders would argue that that's a completely different demographic, even though it's a horror film, that's obviously skewing much more young, much more female.
Yeah. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of the plot, but yes, I am recommending this movie, and I will remember this movie.
Sure.
Just general question for you, because you are kind of on the softer, positive side. So for me, I think a big thing this movie has to do is make you excited or make you want to see the next entry in this franchise. And it did that for me, but also at the same time, the entire time I was watching this, I kept thinking to myself, okay, this is act 1. This is act 1 of a 3-act story. And I know that when we talk about episodic television specifically, it's always kind of you struggle a little bit more than I do with, well, we don't know where this is going, so how can we judge this current episode as a whole when it's not the whole story? And so I guess my question for you was, did you have any of those kinds of feelings walking out of this?
Not entirely. I was able to judge the film mostly on its own, if only because I truly didn't get a sense until the final scene, which we'll talk about, where the sequel might go. The story actually felt like it was relatively self-contained, which is why I was less surprised when I saw the quotes from Boyle and Garland saying, okay, yeah, this story's kind of put to bed and it will then move into something different for the sequel.
For sure.
I kind of felt that in my viewing experience. It was okay, in some ways, we could never revisit these characters and just play in the sandbox of this world in a sequel. But I take your point, because I definitely also then revisited the conversation we had at length about The Strangers Chapter 1, which of course folks were finally getting that fucking sequel in the fall. But everybody was so fucking soft on that film, A, because it was doing the exact same thing that we all feared it was going to do. But you and I think, had some really interesting, productive conversations saying, well, maybe we will have to reevaluate all of this once the sequel comes out. So, like, will we look back on 28 years later differently after we see the Bone Temple? I think that that's inevitable. Like, it's an impossible feat to not do that. So part of me is like, okay, well, yeah. Do I think my opinion on this movie is going to change, not just after I sit with it and accept what it was doing as opposed to what I want? Yes, right. But then also the second film is probably going to affect me again.
Yeah, and what I predict is going to happen with both you and I feel like you're going to your opinion is going to rise on this film and possibly Bone Temple, whatever that's going to be, and
right, and yours will come down a little bit, and we'll meet in the middle.
Yes, because I feel like I'm always really enjoying the journey, but I can often get very let down by endings when the ending isn't what I expect. Whereas you were like, no, like I need to have the whole story, and like the ending is like I will accept it for what it is once I have the whole story, but I'm very excited and intrigued to see what's going to happen once Bone Temple comes out.
Right. Yeah. And then, of course, we can have the conversation anew if we do get that third one, because hypothetically it will also contribute to the conversation. But yeah, I mean, I think just as a standalone film, this is doing some pretty intriguing things. Like the fact that people are saying it's unexpected, it's not quite what I thought it was going to do. I've seen just as many people who are on the negative side say, oh, well, the reason I feel that way is because it feels like it's episodic, it's choppy, it doesn't come together, it doesn't seem like it's telling a cohesive storyline. So I think that's why I'm a little bit softer on it, because it's just doing some unusual things, and I'm not sure that they always mesh well. And I will admit, I felt the pacing is a little bit wonky. Like it kind of feels like it starts and stops in places.
And see, I wonder too if, because I do think that this movie and the trilogy as a whole is going to be a lot more allegorical. Like we have this quote from Nia DaCosta saying, well, I think the first one is about the nature of family. The second one's about the nature of evil. And the third one will be, well, she says is, but will be about the nature of redemption. And so I think that's a thing too, where it's like when it comes to plot minutia, I'm kind of like, I don't care, because it seems like we're telling a more allegorical story here.
Yeah. And of course, when we've only seen the one film, it is easy to get bogged down in some of the plot developments, or the characters are like, oh, I didn't really like that one part of the film. Right. Whereas if you pull back and take a more sort of bird's eye aerial view of it, it's like, well, what is the film saying? What is it trying to do? And I do think that specifically with this film, that's two different journeys. It's two different conversations.
Okay. Then my last question for you before we get this started. The fact that this also takes place, I want to say, over maybe a 48-hour period.
Yeah, it's pretty short.
Is that a negative for you on this film?
It worked okay with me. I mean, I do think it's a little bit rocky from the time when Spike and his father come back to the island and then he leaves with his mother, Isla. I was like, oh, that feels very abrupt. Like, I almost would have liked if we could have just spent a little bit more time figuring out how he's going to do all of this. But then part of it actually feels very appropriate for a boy of his age, where he is just super impetuous, right? Like, mom might die. I'm disillusioned with dad and I don't know if I trust him. So I just scoop mom up and I try to get her to this doctor without really thinking it through.
I agree with you fully, though, where I was like, oh, wow, we're just like taking her out like immediately.
Just barreling through. But okay.
To the point, though, where I was kind of like, I guess I expected more of a break between the two halves of the film. And I found myself kind of excited. I was like, oh, good. Like, we're just going into it. Great.
Yeah. There's barely a pause. Oh, we're not gathering our breath. We're just doing the thing.
Well,
okay.
Because we don't spend a lot of time with the villagers in the town. We get an idea of like what their systems are and how they operate compared to the real world, which again, I love this. Like, what is the real world like? We get like hints of it, but like my husband and I were debating afterwards. I was like, what if the real world is like a Brazil type place where it's like, oh, that plastic surgery thing like is the norm for everybody. It's not just like this one guy's girlfriend.
Oh my God. I love that you went this far down the rabbit hole. I think the real world is the world we're living in right now. It's just that the island is frozen in amber because they have not been able to continue to progress technologically and so on.
No, and I think that's the thing is, I mean, you're probably right, but I love the possibility that's like they're not telling us a bunch of stuff for a reason, I would assume. And so what is the real world like?
Okay, well, sorry, one last thing before, we start to dive into the plot. Were you disappointed that we basically write off any of the new lore or mythology or narrative developments from the end of 28 weeks later. Because I will admit, I was a little frustrated.
I was too. And I'm not ready to be angry about it yet because we don't address it. And so because the film is so contained to like the real world, to this like Brexit-y type island, I was like, okay, maybe they'll address the Paris of it all later, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me how we like get the virus out of Paris.
No, I think it's Garland saying that never fucking happened because I didn't write it and I didn't sign off on it.
We don't have confirmation of that, so I am still in the I'm still in the mindset of like, I don't know, maybe they'll address it, maybe they won't, and I will make my decision as to whether I'm angry about it once this is done.
Okay, sure. I guess you're just choosing to disregard the line that they like eradicated the rage virus everywhere except for the island. So I'm reading that as we either put it to bed immediately in Paris or it never got off of the UK.
I mean, if that means we nuked Paris and Paris doesn't exist anymore, then hey.
I guess that would be a development, yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't know. We don't know. There's no specific reference. And so that's why I'm just kind of like, okay, like I trust Alex Garland and Danny Boyle to do this for me.
I feel like you should prepare yourself to be disappointed, because I feel like this film very clearly says we have no interest in anything that happens outside of the UK.
And we can have that discussion when the Bone Temple and or the third film. I just, again, like, I'm like, whatever. Like, am I irked by it? Yes. But like,
it's not a deal breaker.
It's not a deal breaker because we don't have confirmation.
Sure. Okay.
As the daughter of immigrants, financial struggles were part of my everyday reality. In high school, I became homeless and had to live in a women's shelter. Thankfully, being an APIA McDonald scholar enabled me to attend college and begin a new chapter in my life. And now, my reality is filled with endless possibilities.
McDonald's has awarded nearly $4 million through APIA scholars to support students. Learn more at apanext.com.
All right, what do you think of this opening scene? It turns out that we have seen large portions of it from the trailer. So a bunch of kids watching Teletubbies, and then the rage virus gets in. We have a narrow escape. And of course, we're meant to believe that young Jimmy, who is played here by Rocco Haynes, will eventually grow up to be Jamie, the Aaron Taylor Johnson character, which of course means that's not who he is.
Oh, that's actually one thing I wanted to say too. So walking out of the theater, I was, my husband went to go to the bathroom, so I was like just kind of waiting outside, listening to people talk as they walked out of the theater. And
how many people were confused?
A lot of people were confused because yes, everyone thought that Jamie was a Jimmy grown up, and also no one seemed to know that yes, there's another film coming. And so, but again, they didn't not like it. They were just like trying to figure everything out because they seemed very confused walking out of the film.
Interesting. Okay.
But yeah, this is fine. This is kind of your more typical, zombie scene, I guess. But it's also a thing where it's like, oh, this really only has connections to the end. Final scene of the film. So, yeah. But we had, of course, the church scene where it's like, oh, he goes to his dad, but his dad's like, nope, this is the final reckoning. It's a new judgment. Zombies kill me. Sure.
Yeah. And Jimmy hides, but he manages to get the crucifix from his father, and then he flees. And that's our cold open. And I think as something that sets up a character that we still don't really know a ton about, it could be exciting. I was more excited by the end of the film as opposed to the opening. This felt very conventional, very sort of studio note, hey, you need to open on a big action set piece. But compared to the opening of the first film and the second film, I would say this is not great. I was just like, cool, generic zombie chaos. Got it.
We also haven't mentioned, though, that this is the first film in this franchise to come out really after all of the other films that 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later inspired. So, we had that talk in 28 Days Later where Alex Garland called his script for the film derivative. He was like, it's a pretty derivative zombie script, but except they run. And so I'm interested to see if he feels the same way about this script, because I did see a lot too where it was like, a lot of the zombie stuff just isn't as impressive when, again, even the concept of the alpha or the evolving stuff you've seen in video games like The Last of Us. So it's like, what's new there? And I would argue there's not much new there when it comes to zombie stuff, which is why this cold open is fine.
It's fine. Yeah. It sets the film off in an exciting way, or a kind of like, cool, yeah, we're going to get a little bit of this, and now everybody settle in for the actual story. But I will say, as somebody who has seen a shit ton of zombie titles, and yes, folks, I will continue to call them zombies. I know they call them infected, but whatever. I was just like, okay, cool. Let's get to the actual meat and potatoes of the story. Like, what else have you got? Because this ain't doing it.
Yeah, and what we get is father and son.
So we learn that via text and some other interspersed dialogue that the UK is considered contaminated. It's been completely cut off from the rest of the world, where the rage virus has been eliminated. The waters around the border are being patrolled, and no one is being let off of the island. So I wrote in our notes, this is an extremely obvious Brexit allegory. And I'll confess, Trace, one of the things that I grappled with throughout the entire movie is... because I said it's a very like Britishy text in certain ways. And I couldn't tell if this is we made our bed and now we have to lay in it kind of Brexit allegory. Like, we did this to ourselves by succeeding from the rest of Europe. So of course they would cut us off and they wouldn't help us. Or is it all of our allies abandoned us in our time of need? And I could not figure out if the film is trying to play it one way or the other.
I know. I think you're 100% correct in that I don't think we know yet. And that's, again, where this whole like part 1/act 1 of it all comes into play for me.
Right.
But yeah, as someone who I was mildly aware of the whole Brexit thing, but I had to look up today. I was like, well, why was Brexit controversial? Like, why did people care that the UK was leaving the EU? Like, I really didn't know, because I'm just so far removed from that culture.
Okay.
But it's, but nevertheless, I was kind of
I'm curious.
Okay.
Wait, what did you discover? Well,
no, it's mainly just like the long-term implications involving trade, economy, and things like that, because the UK is now essentially under its own like governmental. It's always under its own rule. Like, it's not part of a union anymore. There's no. It ruins. It seems trade was a big part of the issue here.
Yes, yeah. So they wanted greater independence from decisions that were being made by the EU. So it allows them to revert back away from like euros to pounds, even though pounds were obviously still being accepted. But they don't have to make kind of block arguments or decisions that the rest of the EU makes. But it then really dramatically affects things like trade and immigration and travel and that kind of stuff.
Because that was one thing where it's like, if you're a Brit going into anywhere in the EU, then you can't be there for more than 90 days and without a visa. Yeah,
you're a tourist again.
Exactly.
You're not a member of the EU, so you don't get carte blanche to travel around.
Exactly.
And I think the other big contentious piece is that there were some people who voted for Brexit. Tell me if this sounds familiar, Mr. America. They voted for it without really understanding what they were signing up for. And they felt like they had maybe been lied or misled by politicians who were actively going for it. So I think there's a bunch of people in the UK who signed on for something, not reading the fine print, and now they deeply regret what they actually voted for.
Well, and I think we see a microcosm of that in the Spike and Jamie relationship, with Jamie taking the government approach and like Spike being the citizen. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's extremely obvious Brexit allegory. And I think that is correct for Brits and anyone in the EU. But I think for Americans, maybe
it's kind of like what?
Well,
it's like, island cut off. Got it.
Maybe so. But I mean, that's the thing where I could totally get the Brexit allegory. But again, for someone who's like, I don't really know fully like the implications of Brexit. Right. I wasn't as it's so obvious.
Oh, okay, I see. Also, I don't appreciate the snarky tone you just used to clearly do me.
I'm sorry. Oh, that's so obvious.
Thank you. Yes, put the glasses on the nose and push them up, as you say.
But that being said, though, I mean, I think you are right. I think this is clearly what we are doing here. I mean, did you find this film pretentious?
I didn't personally, but I definitely did see a number of negative reviews and just like general chatter on social media saying that, this is Boyle and Garland thinking that they're smarter than a lot of other people. And I think for the people who don't enjoy this film, it actually feels like very shallow, very kind of like lazy and obvious in certain regards.
I think that's also the trajectory we're kind of on with Alex Garland's career, because I think ever since Men, that's kind of been the shift. Like it was all great up until Annihilation, and then Men came out, and then the opinions seemed to start to shift a little bit, and then Civil War, not as bad as Men in terms of the reception, but like I think people were getting that because it's, that's America.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, we have a couple of pretty close friends who are very cold on Alex Garland because of Q&As that he has done, where it's just like, your movies would do much better if they were speaking for themselves and if you shut the fuck up.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I do think that, yeah, like, as he has shifted from principally screenwriting and more into direction, you know, the star has obviously gone up, but also he's a bit of a mixed bag political figure.
Yeah. Did you like Civil War? I don't know if we ever actually talked about it.
I did like Civil War, yeah, but I also do think it's a little bit weird when, like, a Brit is making really big proclamations about America.
Well,
like, part of me is just like, stay in your lane a little.
That's why I think it's really interesting, because, you know, Danny Boyle is going to come back for the third movie if it gets made, but Nia DaCosta is an American directing the second film.
Yes, which, honestly, the second film is like where it's at for me. Yeah. I'm so excited to see a new Nia DaCosta film that's going to tackle UK politics, and then also is a sequel to this movie, which is a what?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about this family unit. So as we mentioned, we've got Spike. He's turning 12, played by Alfie Williams. Big breakout, folks. Guaranteed nomination for Breakout Performance of the Year, which is usually our kind of like young star or person we hadn't heard of who kind of bursts onto the scene. This kid is so confident. This performance is so assured. Never bored when this character was on screen.
Agreed. Yeah, he gave me like the same vibes as that little kid from Love Actually. Like, he just has so much charisma.
Yes. Yeah. Just highly, highly watchable.
Yeah.
So we follow him. Typically, the boys in this community are taken out past the gates and onto the mainland to go hunting, using air quotes here, when they're about 14 or 15. So for Spike to be taken out on his 12th birthday is a big deal. He has a father named Jamie. Not the Jamie from the opening.
Well, actually, I wonder if that's the thing, is because it's Jamie, but it's like Jimmy. So maybe if it's like the accents, kind of like people are like, oh, it
all
sounds
of us Americans.
The same. Yeah.
Oh, I can't tell the difference between Jimmy and James. Jamie.
God forbid, Eric.
Oh my God. I definitely, in my notes, I was like, is it Eric? Is it Eric? Anyway, we'll get there.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so Aaron Taylor Johnson doing the most Aaron Taylor Johnson performance, where you're like, you're hot, you're the pinnacle of masculinity, you're also unreliable and untrustworthy.
Yeah, this character's kind of a dick.
Total dick. Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty par for the course for an Aaron Taylor Johnson performance. And again, I think he's fine here. But I wasn't necessarily sad when we make the shift into Spike and Isla narrative.
Oh, absolutely not. So Isla is the mom, played by Jodie Comer, and I was just happy because I was deadly afraid after the first act that she was going to spend the entire movie in bed.
I was too. Also, just that she was going to be like in not lucid states for all of her scenes. Like, we don't. Isla is a character, but we don't really get to know a lot of her because also, I mean, shocker, spoiler alert, like she dies at the end of this movie. So we will not get more of her in these sequels.
Unless we do flashbacks, but that doesn't feel like par for the course.
No, I think that's the thing where it's like, oh, this story is over. Like that
she's
story.
Done.
Yeah, she's done. Yeah, for sure. But I like, again, the scenes between her and Spike when she is in her more lucid moments were my favorite scenes in the film.
Yeah, no, agreed. They've got really good chemistry. And I like Jodie Comer. I've liked her in a number of projects over the years. Even the things that she's in that aren't great, she's often very good in them. She
is a chameleon. And Joe and I have mentioned this before, but like, if you've not seen Killing Eve, at least season 1 of Killing Eve.
Perfect.
Like, this woman is a chameleon. It's like kind of like a modern day Alias in a way, but like with much like more intriguing like lesbian implications.
Sapphic energy off the roof. Yeah. So good.
Like this woman is wonderful, and I'm so happy to see her being able to do this. And to where I was like, what is her accent again? I thought she was British, but she seems to be doing Scottish in this film. But honestly, she can do whatever accent she wants.
Yes, do not ask me for geographical and or accent stuff because I definitely cannot help you. Because like, I know that even this place, so we are living on Holy Island. It's treated like a mission, and this is a real place called Lindisfarne, and it really does have this causeway. You know, it's beautiful, like in some ways, if this movie didn't have a bunch of infected zombies running around, it could be seen as a tourism promotional advertisement for like the UK because it's gorgeous, right? Like all of the foliage, the drone shots, it makes it look very picturesque if you weren't going to get eaten. For sure. And I guess actually even to further your point about, what is the Brexit allegory saying here, the Brexit metaphor, we learned that there's no doctors on this island and that they don't get any supplies or anything dropped down to them from anyone from the outside world. So they're completely sustainable, but they're also cut off. Like, I just think, again, it's a smidge obvious because it's an island on an island tree. But like, they're completely sustainable, but unless someone has cancer. Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like we basically regressed. It's not just, there's no technology because we, don't have power and that kind of stuff. So now we have to use candles and gas and that sort of stuff. It's like, no, we have no electricity. We have no running water. Like we have basically regressed back to agrarian pastoral times, which is really driven home again. If you wanted to say, Jesus Christ, we get it, guys. We're including footage from 1944's Henry V, just to sort of drive this point home that, the boys are groomed to be hunters and knights, and they will be the men of the family. And then the women will do the washing and collect the eggs and be the mothers. I'm curious. I just thought about this now, the connection like narratively between the films, but were you getting any shades of M. Night Shyamalan's The Village in this movie? A little bit, yeah, because if you think about it, there is deception being done by the older generation to the children. Like, do we truly think that Jamie is like uneducated about who Ray Fiennes' doctor character is? Maybe. And maybe this is just like how it's going to move. We're going to forget things and we're going to pass down misinformation or half-truths to successive generations. But it also feels like a deliberate attempt to be like, this is our community. We have what we need. You don't need to make too many trips beyond the walled gate. Yeah, because that's the thing is like, why do they go out hunting? I don't know. It feels like a rite of passage to say, now you're a man. Yeah. We really don't, because we don't really have any girl child characters in this movie. So we don't really know for sure exactly what they do besides of domesticated, quote unquote, women roles. Right? Like we see them prepping for this party for when Spike returns home. And it's very much like an old timey dance hall that's presided over by a portrait. Sorry, not even a portrait, a fucking picture of Queen Elizabeth, which is really interesting, right? So, like, did Queen Elizabeth become a zombie? Like, we don't know what happened. We have no idea, but like, I think it's just another testament to how this place is either trapped in amber or it's actively regressing backwards, because it feels like everything stopped in 2002 when the events of the first film happened, and then these people have kind of chosen, like, the fact that this place is literally called Holy Island, and this feels gently cultish. It feels. Yeah, just very sort of set in heteronormative gender norms. There was a lot of things where I was like, is this a cult movie? It's weird. Like, I was getting vibes of, British folk horror, like Wicker Man type stuff. Yes, but it's also like a post-apocalyptic world in the sense that this is the only place that's really post-apocalyptic in the world. Like, right. So again, like all these blendings, which again, that's where I can kind of see where it's like, there's a lot of different ingredients in this pot that don't go well together. So I get that. For me, I was just kind of you were like, oh, interesting. Yeah, I was like, ooh, different, shiny. Unexpected. No, and I truly do think that's the biggest dividing line, particularly after this first film, is like, did you enjoy this cocktail of maybe not always complementary ingredients, or were you like, nope, none of this goes together? Why couldn't you have made a more cohesive film? Sure, absolutely. This is, further by this Rudyard Kipling's Boots that's read by Taylor Holmes, which of course featured in the trailer, which one of the I think that the trailer best. So good. When it came out, it was like, oh, this is the second most watched horror trailer of all time after Chapter 1. It's wild. Folks, we're actually going to add a Hereditary category this year for best trailer. We've debated whether or not we want to do it each year, in part because it always feels like one is just going to immediately run away with it. Like last year, the marketing for Longlegs would have 100% won. And part of me is like, I don't know, do we even need to do it? Because it feels like this trailer for 28 years later, it nails it. It's such a fucking good trailer. Maybe that's one that the listeners don't vote for. Maybe that's just our choice of, hey, best marketing campaign of the year chosen by us. Could be. You let us know if you want in on this prize, folks. But for me, this was the biggest slam dunk marketing, to the point that I'm just like, oh man, if they're not giving it to us for the Bone Temple now, they better make up for it later, because that is the trailer to beat.
I'm really curious as to when we'll get that first trailer for the Bone Temple. Like, is it going to be when this hits VOD, or are they going to wait until like October?
I think probably early fall-ish, but they may even wait until later, because we're talking about January, mid-January. So
right. Yeah.
We'll see. I really like that this wasn't just a trailer thing, and that we are using it. So, folks, if you don't know anything about the poem, it is specifically referring to the March to War and the Boer War in particular. But I think between this and the Henry V clips, it's very much like, British proud, do your part, and we are in a war situation, so know your role.
Yes, which I guess that's going to be challenged by Spike for the rest of this film.
Yeah, because he completely deviates over the course of this movie. But Trace, tell me what you think about Slow-Lo, a.k.a. our new fat zombies.
They're fine. I mean, I guess the thing, none of the zombie stuff in this movie I found particularly revelatory. Like, I was like, this is, I mean, it makes sense. I don't need this to be revelatory. Like, I don't need every like new horror film to come out to be like, oh, this is something brand new that I've never fucking seen before. And I think it's hard when you have a film like 28 Days Later, when it's like, well, the first film did that. So how does any sequel top that?
Right. Yeah.
So
I don't know if they are actively trying to top themselves so much as it does feel like we're doing a little bit of an evolution thing with the alphas, which I was definitely more intrigued by, if only because I think there's more storytelling potential there. The Slow-Los are a curiosity, and I was fine with it until I saw my friend Alex Heaney of the Seventh Row podcast be like, I'm really turned off by the fact that our main infected zombie antagonists in this movie are fat zombies or black zombies, because Samson is like the sort of dominant figure throughout this text, and it's like, oh, a tall black man or a fat legless one.
That's really cool. I didn't even like pick up on the fact that Samson was black. I'm not gonna lie, he was just so dirty the entire time that I didn't even like put it together. But the alpha thing with Samson, again, I would maybe find more interesting, or again revelatory, if George A. Romero didn't do the exact same thing with the black alpha in 2005's Land of the Dead.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? Like, in some ways, I have to imagine that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are aware of these other texts, and like they maybe are paying homage or referencing other texts, and yet I don't always get that impression within the world of the film, and they don't often talk about it in interviews.
Yes, I fully agree. And so, I mean, again, do we think that maybe these are also more allegorical, like, figures? Like, what does the Slow-Lo represent in British society? I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, even the explanation, they make a kind of steroids comparison, and I was like, this is weird. It's very weird.
Well, and they also eat worms. They don't just eat human flesh.
Yeah, because we had that whole debate about whether or not they were going to eat the rats in 28 Days Later. We never really got an answer.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so it turns out that the hunting party that Spike is meant to go on is to kill one of these Slow-Los. So it's kind of low-hanging fruit, although once you kill one, the idea is that you need to then move because it will attract the attention of others. Unexpectedly, we attract the attention of an alpha, so we end up having to hide in a house. And this is the section where I was like, so far, so average. It's the kind of thing that we're very used to seeing. I did enjoy the, is he dreaming or is the roof actually falling in on them? And it is the latter. And then, we get this really striking image of the alpha stalking them throughout the night. And what I'm going to say is another strong contender for a hereditary trace. This midnight, sort of late night coming into dawn chase across the causeway back to the island with the alpha in pursuit.
Oh, 100. I actually love the way this was shot. Like, this was this is probably the most exciting, thrilling moment of the film, as you said. Yeah, this is great. Like, I felt the tension in this scene probably more than any other scene in the film, because I guess
it's a sustained chase sequence. Like, the rest of them, it feels like, ooh, is the zombie gonna sneak up on them or not? This is a proper like chase, run for your life.
Right. And I guess maybe this is what people like. Something like this is what people wanted more of in the film.
Maybe. Yeah, this, I guess the reason I like this is because the way it's shot and the Yeah, like it feels almost dreamlike, hallucinatory, because the only light that we're really getting is from the stars above them and like the light being reflected off the water. So it just felt very unique compared to a lot of other set pieces we've seen in zombie films.
For sure. I mean, I just the concept of the rising tide, I was like, yes, please, like do it more. But also the fact that the zombie like does actually chase them and doesn't die, I guess.
No.
This is still Samson, right?
No, this is a different one. There are multiple alphas inhabiting this world, but this idea that an alpha is so powerful that they cannot be easily put down. Like normally you couldn't, like we're doing a bunch of gut shots and like leg wounds on some of these infected, and it nearly takes them out. So that's a bit of a weird thing. But these alphas, it's like, oh, you can hit them a bunch of times and they will just keep coming.
And the most suspenseful thing about this scene isn't even the run. It's once they get to the gate and like the town matriarch is like, we gotta wait, we gotta see your eyes. And they're like, he is right there.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. At this stage in the film, I was still thinking this is the movie.
Right.
Like, we're just trying to get back here, but the alpha is actually going to lead a horde of infected, and it's going to be Last of Us Episode 2 all over again, right?
Oh, I mean, there are so many shades of Last of Us in this movie, aren't there?
I think so, yeah. And maybe it's just because it's top of mind because we only just finished it a couple months ago, but I 100% was like, well, you're not going to show me a town with a giant barrier, like basically like a castle encampment, without breaching that at some point. So like if we're not doing it in this movie, are we going to do it in the Bone Temple? I don't know.
And that's the thing is we're like, this whole first half of the movie, this first hour is essentially the prologue to the next 5 hours of film we're supposed to get.
Oh my God. It's so bizarre to think of it that way, but yes.
I mean, that's the thing. I wonder if this is meant to be like one giant 6-hour movie, Oh
my God. Please, no. I can't go back to that, oh, this 18-hour television show is really just a movie.
Yeah, exactly. I also, so we get some really pretty shots right before this too of the alpha and like all the other infected, like, kind of showing up next to this big tree, which I had no personal connection with, but this is apparently a big, like, it's called the Sycamore Gap tree in Northumberland, England, that is, I guess, gained a lot of fame after being in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, but it was cut down in an act of vandalism in 2023. So obviously that doesn't happen in this in this timeline yet. And so it's, again, just kind of more illustrating how the timeline has deviated from what we have today. But I don't know if there was any kind of more significant, if this tree means something more to Brits than it means to you or I.
I absolutely think that, because I didn't even clock it. I was like, oh, it's a striking shot. That's very pretty. But it didn't obviously connect with me.
Listen to the waves. Feel the sand beneath your feet. The summer storm will never end. Some places never let you leave. You live here now. You live here now. Get tickets now for Return to Silent Hill. In theaters, January 23rd.
And I don't mean to offend. I'm not trying to conflate the two in terms of loss, but I wonder if it's the equivalent of seeing something like the Twin Towers in a movie where you're just like, oh, that's something that we lost, but it can still be preserved in a film because this is a different timeline or this is a different set of circumstances.
Oh, that actually makes me now wonder, like, if we had like the 28 Days Later, but like the American version, like if any filmmaker would be bold enough to put the Twin Towers back in the timeline.
Right. Because here's the thing. They did exist up to a point. And obviously it's very hurtful, maybe more harmful to see them depicted because it reminds you of the loss. But digitally erasing remnants of the past is just like trying to willfully forget them. Like you're not acknowledging them. And you know what? It actually ties in really well to what Ray Fiennes' character is trying to do with his Memento Mori piece at the end of this movie.
Absolutely. The whole wave of films, anything that was set on a plane was pushed back. Anything that featured, I remember the Spider-Man campaign was a big thing. We had to remove the Twin Towers. And it's like, it felt like almost it's, like the early stages of like trigger warnings almost.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to upset everybody. So we're just going to pretend it's not even there. But the problem is if you know that it's supposed to be there, then it looks like an omission. Like you're willfully erasing the past.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. But yeah.
Speaking of seeing things that are upsetting that change your point of view. So We finally managed to make it back in, and because Spike has returned from his hunting party as he was meant to do, we have a big celebration trace, and this is where the wheels start to fall off the family unit because, of course, Jamie lies about what his son accomplished out there. You know, he actively froze. It's part of the reason the Alpha came after them, because we couldn't just put down a couple of these infected and make our way back home. It's like, no, things didn't go to plan. He was not a hero, but Jamie can't help but goose up this entire narrative. And then we see him fucking some other lady.
Yeah, I think, again, like, once you kind of, I mean, I'm not excusing this at all. Like, dude, like, take care of your very sick and probably dying wife. But, like, this does not endear you to Jamie, you meaning the general you, at all.
Mm-hmm. No.
But I like that Spike sees it, and I like and did not expect that he immediately calls his father out on it once he has this conversation with his grandfather.
Yeah, he basically leaves the party, goes home so that he can look after his mother, and then his dad gets all mad at him, and Spike just fully, like, pushes him and says, you don't get to talk to me or mom anymore because you're a bad person. And it's funny because Jamie clearly doesn't know, which tells you this is not the first time Jamie has done this, because he's just like, wait, what was different about last night? Yeah. I've clearly been fucking Rosie for a very long time.
But also, like, he didn't know that Spike knows that, you know?
Exactly. So this is basically what instigates the rest of the film. Now that we don't trust Dad, because we didn't mention it, before the roof collapses in this place, we saw a light in the distance. It was a fire, and Jamie played it off like, oh, I don't know what that is. And then later on, we discover, oh, that's probably Dr. Kelman. So he used to be a member of the community. He was kind of kicked out. And when we asked Jamie about it, he's like, oh, I guess it could be him, but also that guy's a nutter because I saw him collecting a bunch of bodies when we went to check on him this one time. So he's mad. Definitely don't go and talk to him, and just, disregard the whole thing.
Whereas for Spike, it's like, you mean there's a possibility that this is a guy that could help mom, and you are not taking advantage of this after we were just on the mainland? Like, if he's crazy, kill him. Like, we also forgot to mention too, in that collapsing house, we have these breadcrumbs that keep getting dropped about Jimmy. We'll get to the end of the film, where they find this infected that's hanging upside down with a bag over its head that's collecting infected blood, and I think Jimmy is scratched onto its chest.
Yeah, like this infected has been mutilated and tortured, right? And I think this may even be the house that we opened in, which means it would have been maybe childhood Jimmy's home.
Maybe, yeah, absolutely.
I think I'd have to watch the movie again to know. I got the impression these are sort of row houses, like they all look the same, but also it seemed like the layout was almost identical to when we saw Jimmy fleeing at the beginning.
Yeah, no, you're right, and maybe we'll get confirmation on that in the next film.
We will see. Folks, how many times are we going to say that in this episode? You'll just have to keep listening. Okay, so Spike sets a fire so that he can sneak him and his mom out, and then we move into the next part of the film, which is basically a road trip movie with son and mother, and as you mentioned, Trace, we get these periods of lucidness with Isla. So sometimes she's able to have a perfectly regular conversation with her son, and other times she mistakes him for his grandfather, her father, which is, it's very sad. I think that Jodie Comer finds a way to humanize the character in a way that doesn't feel like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be a capital P problem character because she's going to get him fucking killed.
Which, I guess, I don't know. Did you ever think for a moment that either one of them was going to get killed? Like, killed by an infected?
I did in this section of the movie. Like, we get the moment that we saw in the trailer that everybody thought it was Cillian Murphy as an infected coming out of the flowers, which I thought was a really lovely image. But I kind of thought, okay, if we're going to do it, it would be somewhere around here. And then when we end up having to make a run for it later on, and when the whole thing happens with the fast food place and we introduce a new character, I was like, oh, okay, we're introducing red shirts so that we can kill them instead.
Right. I did, like, we only get one instance of it, I think, but when she's having one of her hallucinations with her father or grandfather, like, where we actually see, like, what she sees with a man behind her, like, touching her shoulders. And I kind of wish we got more of that, or just excise this entirely, because I was like, oh, like, I like being in her head for a little bit.
Yeah, Yeah, to be honest, I completely forgot about it until you mentioned it. So clearly it didn't make a huge impression on me. This felt a little bit like, oh, we've got a baby during the apocalypse, like the Quiet Place phenomenon, right? Where you think, in an apocalypse or in a situation like this, you often think, okay, well, I would want to surround myself with certain types of people, right? Like I want a doctor. I want somebody who's going to be able to cook something up, electricity wise, or be really handy. And then you think of all the people that would be, I don't want to say problems. I don't want to say an issue, but it's like, you don't want a baby. You don't want a senile old person, just because it would be so much harder to survive. And this sometimes feels like a trope that we do to up the stakes.
Yes. And I am glad that she's not used in that way, though.
I don't think so. Initially, early on, I was like, fuck, this is what we're definitely doing. Sure. And then it feels like we do away with that because we realize, no, we want to make her a real person and not just a quote-unquote burden for Spike to bring around.
Well, and given the fact that she does die by the films, and I'm glad that that's what we do, and maybe that's also why that's what we do.
I think so, yeah. Like, if we knew that this was a trilogy and she was going to be in all three, I think we would have stretched this out and made her more of a problem.
Yeah, I think her death is very much like that's more of a rite of passage for Spike than the actual going out to hunt the infected.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because it's so much more meaningful to him. The hunting means nothing.
I'm not going to lie, dude. I cried a little bit when...
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. As I said, the last act of this movie, for me, A+.
I can't wait to talk about the last minutes, though, because that seems to be the most divisive. But
Okay, so let's breeze through some of this then. So we stay in an open-air church. There's a tense bit where a slow-low nearly gets them, and you get this weird fake-out of somebody saves them, but you don't know who, and you think it might be related back to the infected that was upside down hanging in the house. But surprise, surprise, Mom, she's full of surprises. She turned out to have actually saved him in the night.
I really enjoyed the overhead shots, though, of this thing just crawling towards them. I think this is what you mentioned when I said, it's the second most tense scene of the film.
Yeah. We don't really revisit this. I don't know if Spike ever really figures out that his mom either saved him or that the person who saved him was her. I don't know that it matters. Well, we know.
That's actually, no, that I don't know that it matters. I think that's a good question because I don't either. And I don't know if I'm bothered by that or not because over just, she's lucid enough. But she doesn't also seem to remember that she did it.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the significance of this.
I think if anything, to me, it just confirms that you could actually remove this section of the film. Like, I don't know that it matters. We could have just moved directly into, okay, they go from leaving the safety of the village and then they get caught in the open and they have to flee to the fast food restaurant and they get in over their heads and then they get rescued by...
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's more, not say it's a studio note because I don't think that Danny Boyle would listen to that, but it's like, hey, get more zombie stuff in here, please.
Maybe. Or maybe it's to prove that these two can actually look after themselves because the rest of the film will find them getting rescued by people during infected attacks.
Right. Also, maybe it's good to just give Isla a moment like this.
Yeah. She's not helpless. She can actually defend herself, just not consistently.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because we don't know what state she's in when she does this. Is she in her lucid state or is she in one of her not lucid states?
And we don't know. Yeah
exactly.
Yeah. Because part of me was like, oh, did she turn into, did she dollhouse? Did she get implanted with, infected assassin for a moment there?
Exactly. No, she was, we're in the modern days where she was severed.
Right, there we go. Okay, so we've got this fast food sequence where, yes, they have to run and they find a place that they can get into, but... I love this because it was very unexpected. I thought, okay, we're just going to have to hide. It's the thing that we've seen a million times. But they get into this fast food restaurant and the gas has been on the whole time and they immediately start to choke and they can barely function. And they are eventually rescued by Erik Sundqvist, who is played by Edvin Ryding. It's a Swedish actor. And so we've not really talked about it, but there was this earlier moment where we saw a bunch of military dudes. Their boat capsized as they were doing a patrol, and we saw them get kind of mowed down in kind of looks like the Terminator 2 water seepage drain thing.
Yeah, just very quick fashion.
Yeah, so we knew that there were other people on the island, but it didn't feel like it was consequential, so I kind of just purged it from my memory until this guy shows back up.
I was the exact same way. I was like, but I think because we have those insertions of, the Henry V footage where I'm kind of like, okay, like, is this really important, or is this just like adding to the themes? I was like, also, when I see a bunch of army guys, like, I think my brain just like shuts down.
It's not untrue. It's not untrue. Okay, so yes, they are rescued by this guy, and immediately the tone of the movie changes, and I think it becomes much more of a conventional crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
Because we get to do a bunch of jokey fish out of water stuff, because of course, Eric has been living in, like, this is the closest thing that we will find out about what the rest of the world is like. So he still has a cell phone, he's got a model with plastic surgery Botox lips, and none of this makes sense to Spike, and it's a lot of good comedy.
Yeah, no, this I could hear the laughter in my audience for this. I don't think it feels jarring. Like, I don't think this shift in tone feels out of place. If anything, I kind of appreciate it after the previous, I'm assuming, like 70-ish minutes of film we've had.
Yeah, this is when I clicked back into sync with the film. It kind of lost me with the familiar, okay, we're just doing the trek through infected territory. And it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it. It felt a little too familiar. And then this guy comes in and feels like he brings in some fresh energy. No,
I fully agree. I mean, again, you said this earlier. It was like, maybe it's because we just watched The Last of Us Season 2, but it's like a lot of this just like felt like this trek across the country. Like, even to the point where I was like, why aren't you having someone keep an eye open and watching when you're sleeping?
Yeah. In Spike's defense, he's meant to stay up and watch, but he falls asleep. But yes.
He's also 12, so.
He's also 12, yeah. Okay, so we get the train car sequence, which is there's a pregnant infected, and Isla seems to make a connection, helps her to give birth before she turns back into a snarling conventional infected. But this seems to be the female partner of one Samson, who is the alpha that has been gently stalking the proceedings, played by former MMA fighter and now actor Chi Lewis Perry. Trace, we should probably pause and take this moment to talk about the dicks.
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen going in because all I could see was people talking about the dick, which I'm just kind of like, of course, like, there's a dick in a movie. That's all people are going to talk about.
Well, to be fair, there's more than just one. Basically, all of the infecteds no longer have clothes because it's been 28 years later. So that works in terms of the continuity of the timeline. But yeah, it means that they're not modest. So we do just have a bunch of dicks. Folks, if you were getting excited, this is a Euphoria situation. They are all prosthetics.
I was going to say, that was actually because I could tell. Prosthetic dicks, especially now looking at them running, they just don't flop like normal dicks do. And
we need a social experiment. Can we volunteer a few people to do a naked run so we can look at the authenticity of the dick flop?
I'm just, as someone with a penis, I know what it's supposed to look like. It just looked too, like, firm. Like, it didn't flop enough. It wasn't wasn't as loose as it should. Loose, maybe the wrong word, but like it didn't look real. It didn't look real to me, and I was kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, there you go.
Yeah, I read an interview with this actor because apparently he's kind of on the rise. He was in Gladiator 2, but he had some scenes cut. Apparently, he was one of the other gladiators in there with Paul Mescal. Yeah, like I think he's doing a lot. I'm a little wary of the kind of tokenistic, like, this is a very white film, except for this particular character, as I said, my friend Alex noted, so that the racial implications, maybe not great. But I was intrigued by this because in the interview, this guy said, oh, yeah, no, it had to be a prosthetic because, we're interacting with this underage minor of an actor. And apparently you're not allowed to have real nudity on movie sets with child actors present. And I was like, so you just slap on the fake dick and everything is apparently kosher.
That doesn't make any sense to me. That is some weird legality loopholes there.
Yeah, it just did not seem right for me. I don't know if it's a British thing or if it's just an everywhere thing, but I was like, I feel like I'm going to need more information about this.
Yeah, I mean, either way, this is a big honking dick, and it doesn't look real to me. So I wasn't as impressed or enamored with this as everyone else seems to be.
Sure. I mean, here's the thing. It's always nice to see male nudity on screen because we get so much female nudity on screen typically, or no nudity. Here's the thing. More nudity for everyone, because I think it just also is a reality. Like, it makes sense in the world of this film that these infected would not be modest and put on, oh, I'm slip into my modesty brace as I go around chasing people.
Yeah.
Okay, follow-up question. What did you think about the editing of the action sequences? We are shooting this movie on an iPhone.
Right.
So obviously not like, hey, everybody, your regular iPhone, this is souped up and all that kind of stuff. But the editing, like we do a kind of bullet time slow-mo freeze frame when we shoot a lot of these infected, and I don't know if I love it. It's a choice.
Yeah, it is a choice, but it's a choice in as much the same way as the filming of the first movie was a choice.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I thought it was interesting. I didn't think it necessarily added a lot to the film, but it also didn't take away from the film for me. I was kind of like, okay, that's kind of cool, but like, that was the extent of it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of my problem with it, is that it was a choice. Okay, this is something a little bit different, but I also didn't really feel like it added anything to it. So it just felt like, okay, I guess we're doing this. This is the way that we're going to do these sequences in this film.
Yeah, and I admittedly haven't, because, we got a lot of information from Danny Boyle on the first film as to why he chose to film it that way. And I haven't fully read a lot of interviews with him about why he chose to film it this way, unless it was more so like, oh, well, it's similar. It's the 2025 equivalent to what we were doing in 2002.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's given a lot of interviews about like their process in terms of discarded narratives. Like they tried for several years. Apparently they've been trying to get this off the ground for quite some time, and they had drafts of other stories that just never really firmly worked. And then I think they cracked it during the pandemic, and sort of it all came together in terms of the financing. The rights reverted back to them as well, which meant that they were able to sell it at a sort of more lucrative rate, which is probably more the reality of why this got made now as opposed to earlier.
Because Sony won the bidding war. That's why they're distributing it.
Yeah, it's apparently also the popularity of the trailer is why we suddenly now have 28 days later back on streaming.
Well, yeah, that's. I mean, also, if you're releasing the sequel, wouldn't you would want that original to be readily available? So
you would think so. Yes. Yeah. Okay. We do kill Eric here, so Samson fully decapitates him, and
Love this.
We're doing a lot of these style decapitations where it's not just, oh, I ripped off your head. It's I ripped off your head and your spine comes with it.
Yeah, we're predatoring it, but it's the difference is though, it's not just like the whole head and the spine. We are doing a partial decapitation, so it's like from the top half of the jaw up, and then the spine comes with it. Which I liked it. I liked it. I think it mostly looks good.
Sometimes it looks a little too clean, a little too propish, like specifically as we start to move into more skeleton skull territory.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, that's fine. Okay, so Samson is a big threat in this train car because it's a compressed space. We managed to get out, but then it's like, this is an alpha. He is unstoppable, and it's a 12-year-old and a woman who is experiencing gaps in her lucid waking state. So we're fucked until iodine-covered Dr. Kelman, played by Ray Fiennes, shoots a... What is this? We've got a... Oh, I thought I had it in the notes.
Yeah, it's a dart of some kind with like morphine almost type thing.
Yes, yeah. So basically we can incapacitate the alpha for a while. It doesn't kill him. It just kind of stuns him for a finite period, but enough time that we can get away. And this is where we move into the last act of the film. So if you were waiting for Ray Fiennes, your moment has arrived.
Mm-hmm. And I will... This is, to me, the most interesting and most successful part of the film for me.
By far. Absolutely. Yeah. Like, and it's not just because it's Ray fucking Fiennes and he's an incredible actor, but also this is where it truly feels like the film is doing the thing that it is most interested in exploring.
Yeah, but I think it's also just like this character of Kelman is so interesting. Like the philosophical, like, I mean, you mentioned like, waxing poetic. He does it a lot in his scenes, but like I found this so much more interesting than anything that Aaron Taylor Johnson was saying.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's just because, oh, well, this person's a simpleton and they want to keep life as it is and they're not interested in reflecting on the past or reflecting on anything, right? It's day-to-day subsistence in the village, whereas here's a man who's been by himself for the better part of 28 years, making this monument to grief and recognizing the past and celebrating everybody, like infected and human, who came before. And folks, this is the future-focused titular bone temple of the sequel, but this is also his memento mori art installation, I called it in our notes. But it's basically just a testament to the past, which is really interesting, right? Because so much of Spike's story is about moving forward into the future. His parents are stuck in the present and unwilling, like they basically just want to look to the past or try to get back to it. And then we actually have Dr. Kelman, who is kind of stuck in the past, but celebrating it.
Yes, and we also, as far as we know, he's the only non-infected person on this mainland, but we don't know.
We don't
know. So I'm sorry. No, we do know that by the end of the film. What am I saying?
Well, we know it at this stage where he's been waiting for someone to come, and it's hard not to reflect back on what Jamie said, where, they came across him and saw him laying out all these bodies and just immediately assumed that he was dead. And presumably, if you came upon it and you saw him from afar, like, oh my God, this man is just incinerating bodies, peeling the flesh off of the skulls, and then placing it in this ornate constructed temple tower thing. Like, you would think he was mad if you didn't get close enough to have a conversation with him.
For sure. And the lesson is, go talk to people.
Escape to nature. Protect your peace. The path is before you. It never ends. It never ends. Some places never let you leave. You live here now. You live here now. Get tickets now for Return to Silent Hill. In theaters, January 23rd.
Even if they are covered in iodine, so they look like they have a terrible orange-red sunburn.
Yes. Maybe he's meant to represent Donald Trump.
Oh my God. How dare you.
I do love the look of this bone temple, by the way. I think that this is a very striking image, and I can see why they are using this in all the marketing. Although I gotta say, I hadn't seen one of the posters. I walked out, and the poster in front of my theater was literally the bone temple with Spike climbing to the top, putting a skull on top. And I was like, okay. It's not a spoiler if you don't know it, but that's the end of the movie.
Truly, yeah. Like the bone temple doesn't show up until very near the end of this movie. Also, you don't want to save that in your marketing for the movie called The Bone Temple?
Well, I bet that's the thing is, it's like, so the second one being called 28 years later or 20 days later, The Bone Temple, it's like, okay, so this is going to be like the big focus of that second film. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming the setting, like we're gonna be here a lot. I
think so.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll speculate a bit more at the end of the episode, folks. Yeah. Okay, so we've made it to the doctor trace, so now we can actually diagnose Isla, and even though we don't have medical equipment, Dr. Kelman can sort of do some preliminary tests. So we poke her, we prod her, we ask her a bunch of questions. We're lucky enough that she's mostly lucid in these moments. And we discover, oh yeah, she cancer, like whole body cancer everywhere, including the brain.
Yeah, like she's probably had it for years or just progressed really fast. But like, it's, and we shift really quickly into, we're going to euthanize her.
Okay, so this was the other thing. Like basically anything to do with Isla seems like it happens very quickly because we sneak her out of the village very quickly. And it's like, oh, your mom is dead. There's nothing I can do to help her. So I'm just going to walk her down through the woods for a little bit after I dose you so that you can't protest too much because you're already very upset, Spike. And just say goodbye to your mom because she's fully now dead.
Yeah. And
it's wild.
The POV shot from Spike as his vision gets cloudy and we just see Kelman walking off with Isla. That's when I was kind of like, oh, like, that's so sad.
Quietly devastating.
Yeah. This all really worked for me.
So I will say I like this a lot. I was actually very worried that a bunch of people would not understand the sequence of what happens. And maybe this is me not being generous enough to fellow moviegoers, but I was concerned that people would not understand that she had died or that this was a euthanasia. Like, I was concerned people would think that Dr. Kelman was a villain.
Yeah, because we don't get a conversation. I mean, he does say, like, I can make it pleasant, and she kind of, like, acknowledges it, but like, there's not really a conversation we have where she says, yes, I'm ready to die, go ahead and kill me.
Yeah, he asks her if she's in pain, and she says that she is. So when he takes her off, you kind of understand he can't do anything, and it's not going to get better, so she's in pain now. It's a kind of like the quality of life conversation we have around pets, right? Where you say, well, it doesn't have to happen now, but like, you're just delaying the inevitable. Yeah, exactly. So I like that there wasn't a conversation. I hear what you're saying about, like, are people going to get it? But I think given that Spike doesn't react negatively once he's handed his mother's skull. Yeah, I mean, he's still kind of out of it. I don't know how strong this dose was that we gave him, because he's definitely very upset. Then we drug him, and then he's out of it, and then he's like, okay, here's your mom's skull, so make sure you put it into a good spot. So yeah, we climb up to the top of this bone temple, this art installation, and we position the skull so that it is facing the rising sun, because there's this earlier scene where we see Isla open the window and, you know, we see the sun on her face, and you very much get the impression she doesn't ever get to leave the house, right? So for her, getting that kind of natural light is a really big deal. So I like that Spike knew enough about her that he wanted to give her that vantage point. Also, really happy that this structure is as, like, stable as it seems to be. Because I was like, I'm surprised. It looks rickety as fuck. Yeah, like, I'm surprised that thing didn't just come toppling down, like Jenga style. He's a doctor. He's not a Jenga magician. There we go. Okay, yeah. So we spend like a tiny bit more time here with Dr. Kelman, but really, I mean, Spike can't live here forever. Oh, we neglected to mention he took the baby. So he's got the infected baby who is not infected. It's a perfectly healthy baby girl. I wonder, though, if this is the workaround for the asymptomatic stuff in 28 weeks later. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. This definitely, I saw some people speculating that if we do get that third film, this baby will be the cure. I was thinking the third film is probably going to do a significant time jump, and we're going to have that baby either be Spike's age or a full-blown adult by the third film. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I want to see a cure storyline in this world. I just feel like it's, again, that to me is derivative. And so I'm going back to that Nia DaCosta quote where it's like the third one's about the nature of redemption. So I'm like, okay, please keep it more allegorical. Like, we don't need to worry about, like, curing this virus, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get to the end of this. So Samson attacks, but Spike manages to save Dr. Kelman this time using the darts. But he essentially says, okay, it's time for me to go home. So we take the baby, we make the trek back. It's Barry Willow, whatever, it's fine. And then he doesn't go back to the village, though. He leaves the baby and a note, so we hear in voiceover a letter he has written to his father, Jamie, and then he kind of rings the bell and runs away. And so this is how we will continue to get Aaron Taylor Johnson in the second film, is that he goes out in search of his son. And we see that Jamie has basically decided he's just going to try to live on his own and figure out who he is as a man now. And that means getting caught in a very threatening position with a bunch of infected barreling down on him. And then we are reintroduced to Jimmy, who is now Sir Jimmy, played by Jack O'Connell. Yes. So, okay. The one thing I also knew going into this movie was, it's really good up until the last 3 minutes, which are so tonally jarring it nearly ruins the entire experience. And it is very tonally jarring. Yeah, there was uncomfortable laughter in my theater because it felt like people truly didn't know what to do with it. I thought this was great. You loved it. I loved this. No, as soon as I walked out, I was like, Trace is going to love this ending because it is so far out of left field. Like, you cannot predict that this is coming. No. And now, granted, though, is it very much like to be continued. Stay tuned for next time. 28 days later, we'll return. Yes. Yes, that's very much what it is. And I can, especially if you don't know that this is what this whole thing is going into it, I could see how this would be like, what the fuck are we doing here? But I thought this is, what did you think of this? I also kind of loved it. You know, it feels like a big fucking swing. It came out of nowhere, so it was pretty surprising. It suddenly kind of felt like we were in a music video or a sketch comedy bit.
Right.
And it also took me a hot minute to process, oh my God, okay, so that's Jack O'Connell, who all of a sudden is now vaulted into MVP territory for 2025, because between this and Sinners, folks, he's having a great year.
I didn't even recognize him, to be honest.
He looks nothing like his other character.
So I really like the implications of where we're going then, because I'm like, okay, cool. Now we're going to get the whole, okay, what does the mainland look like in this second movie? But
right. But let's talk about the controversy.
Yeah. So I had no idea about this. I don't know who Jimmy Savile is until yesterday, of course. Yeah, everyone, basically, Jimmy is dressed as Top of the Pops host and notorious UK pedophile Jimmy Savile, who basically, he was a children's figure who, like, I guess, the British equivalent of, like, Mr. Rogers, kind of, and...
Kinda. Like, he hosted a bunch of things. He did, like, a kind of music video show. That's what Top of the Pops is. But, yeah, like, basically, he was a beloved figure until it was revealed that he was a serial child molester.
I believe this was revealed after he died, because he died in 2011 at the age of 84, and I believe it came out in 2013, but apparently there were rumblings. Like, it was one of those it was like a Harvey Weinstein thing where it's like, if you were in the circle, like, you knew what he was doing, kind of a thing.
Yeah, so folks, if you look up pictures of this, it's like the tracksuit, the hair, the kind of, even the cadence, it's undeniable once you see them side by side. So this isn't like, oh, I think maybe people are reaching, or, oh, it's a gentle piece. It's like, no, that's exactly who this character is meant to be embodying.
No, but it's a thing where it's like, okay, this character was forced to become an adult at the age of, 5 in the opening scene. So it's like, I could almost see this being as a case of like Arrested Development, like stunted growth. He's a man-child, and we see him watching Teletubbies in the opening scene, not Top of the Pops. So, but he's chosen to kind of like become this, I'm gonna say, like, oligarch almost with his group, and idolizing this pedophile, which again, he wouldn't know this because
he wouldn't know. It wasn't out in 2002.
But the issue that people have is that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are saying, okay, well, we're gonna make this known pedophile who, like, hoodwinked the entirety of the UK for decades as this, like, this god figure and so it's arguably in poor taste, right? But again, I admit, I thought this made this more intriguing.
I think that's the right word, and I would encourage folks, I mean, this is us where we don't have a connection to this public figure, and obviously we don't know anybody who was personally, oh God, I was about to say touched. We don't know anyone who was affected by his crimes, whereas people in the UK might feel very closely connected to this. So we can't tell you how to feel about it, but I would say this, like, maybe this is just Garland and Boyle looking to stir some shit up, but I would argue we should probably wait to see what happens in the Bone Temple, because yes, this character will absolutely return. Think about that Nia DaCosta quote, right? We're going to be talking about the nature of evil. So I think we're going to be exposing who this character of Jimmy now is and how he has been corrupted.
And that's the thing. So I ended this movie being like, oh, wow, okay, cool. So Jimmy's a good guy. Like, so just Spike is going to join his crew, and then we're going to, like, go on some, I don't know, whatever the fuck we were doing in Bone Temple. But then, yes, now that I know, okay, who is this public figure? And yes, that Nia DaCosta quote, the nature of evil. So it's like, oh, what I thought we were doing in the second movie now, based on this ending, it has completely changed.
Which is so interesting, because I feel like there's a slight deliberate misread on your part if you thought that this was a good guy, because he and his crew are very clearly delighting. Like, they prompt Spike for an invitation to rescue him, but they are so excited about killing the infected. Like, this is one of those, oh, these people are a little bit Looney Tunes bananas. Like, I don't think they're quite right in their head, because sure, we can say the infected, the zombies, are no longer people, like we have been told that the minute you get infected, you're no longer a human being. But these people delight in the carnage and, like, playing with the infected in this final scene. And to me, that is inching towards, like, the banality of evil, where you don't respect these things, even if they are trying to kill you. clearly you're delighting in the suffering of other people. And I think my reading that we are going to get into weird culty behavior, it just got amplified by the introduction of this character. Like, I think the next film is going to be all about it.
No, I think you're right. Maybe not a deliberate misread on my part, but I'm not taking the extra step. Whereas I'm walking out saying, "Oh, they saved Spike, therefore they are good."
Okay.
So
that's a little black and white. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, but I operate. Nuance is often lost on me, Joe, which is why I have you.
That is not true. It's more in the moment. You need time to reflect.
Yeah, sure.
But I did love that we got this character coming right on the heels of Dr. Kelman, who is, very wise, very stoic, very well-spoken, and so on, and then immediately contrasted by Sir Jimmy.
But I said at the beginning of the episode, does this movie make you excited or eager to see the next entry?
I mean, this scene fucking did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But it seems like for a lot of people, that wasn't the case. A lot of people were like, no, this doesn't fit.
I don't think it fits in the film we just saw.
Yeah.
But it does tee up a very intriguing, okay, we are going to take a hard left turn when that sequel comes out.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, either way, I'm really intrigued. I did wind up giving this a 4 out of 5. Well, what did you settle on?
I ended up on a 3 because I think it's about half and half, kind of like it's a little bit more successful than 50-50.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a film that I need to sit with and process, because I think certain things really did not work for me, and then other things really, really did. So it's like a lot of highs and lows.
Sure, yeah. And I think, again, it's one of those things where we'll probably, whenever we cover the Bone Temple, we're going to have a whole 15-minute section on how did this change in anything on 28 years later. Yeah,
absolutely.
So I don't know. I mean, at the very least, I found this an intriguing, if yes, unexpected continuation of this franchise. And I don't know. I mean,
in hindsight, we shouldn't have been so surprised, considering every time we talk about specifically a like Danny Boyle and Alex Garland text, it's never doing what you think it's going to do.
Yeah, it's never doing the usual. Although, I don't know, I say that, but it's like, well, with the zombie stuff, it kind of is the usual.
It kind of is, yeah. But that's also why there's maybe so little of it, because they're doing the thing, but it's also not the thing they're most interested in exploring.
And that's, I think you can tell that they're not, the zombies are the least interesting part for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But until next time, and until the Bone Temple, we can cross out 28 years later.
Indeed. And cross out horror queers.
Listen to the waves. Feel the sand beneath your feet. The summer storm will never end. Some places never let you leave. You live here now. You live here now. Get tickets now for Return to Silent Hill. In theaters, January 23rd.